Hello and welcome to this episode of Trash to Track. In this episode I'm going to be looking at this 56XX tank that's been sent in by Ron, who said it's a very jerky runner at slow speeds and it's just not running very well at all. Now looking at this I can see there's a wire trap there, so somebody's been in here before I'd reckon and not put the body on quite right. So it may just be a case of a broken wire. With any luck that's what it is. But testing it with a battery, and it is a little bit hesitant, as you can see, it's not running very well at all. And in fact it's stopped altogether now, so giving it a slight tap, nothing, it's complete. Oh, now it's going backwards. It's not running very well at all, and the battery is on the track there all the time. So something's amiss, but other than that the model seems to be in very good condition. Now to remove the body shell off one of these models you have to pull out the NEN couplings and then gently slide the NEN pockets out the way. And there's a screw each end that you have to undo, and then the body shell lifts away from the chassis. This is held in place with two very small Phillips screws. So there's one and there's the other. Now obviously long time viewers of the channel will remember that I did one of these locos in one of the very first Trash to Tracks a couple of years ago. Now this one is the DCC ready model, and it all looks to be okay in there. I can't see any broken wires, although that red wire was trapped between the body shell and the chassis. And there's a bank of capacitors there on top of the motor. Now what I did was I unscrewed this metal weight. Now I didn't need to do this because this actually clips in place, and you unscrew this weight only if you're going to fit a DCC decoder, but I didn't realise that at the time. And when I took the weight off, it was then I realised that this plastic bit just clips into place. And that gives you access to the motor worm. Just look at all that oil on there. I'll have to clean that off later on. So that's given me access to the motor. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on some saddles just to see how the motor's performing. And when I apply power, nothing happens, and then it sparks into life. Now you can see now it is running very, very jerkily. And it looks to me like one of the poles on the motor may have failed, because it's going okay and it hits one pole and then just judders to a stop, and now it's stopped completely. And this is, I'm not touching the controller here, it is on its own, and there's also some smoke coming out of that motor as well, so that's not a good sign either. So to remove the motor from one of these, I've actually got a replacement one now from Bachmann. They sell these on their spares website. So I'm going to take this motor out and swap those capacitors over. So looking at it, I think it doesn't unscrew. I think it just sits in the clips in the motor mount, which is what it did. It just unclipped. It did take a little bit of force to do, and I was worried about breaking that motor mount, but it eventually unclipped. And you can see here just how much old oil and grease has come out of that. That is disgusting. Now just pushing the chassis along, I'm just making sure that there's no tight spots, and there isn't. And I do start to clean the wheels, but I don't pursue this. So what I'm going to do is I will take the wheels out later and I'll clean them properly, because there is quite a bit of fluff and gunk behind the wheels on the pickups. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove the chassis keeper plate, as I said, to remove the wheels and clean them properly. And there are 3 screws. There's 2 visible screws that you can see in the keeper plate here that I undo, and there's also a hidden screw in that recess between the rear driving wheel and the rear pony wheel. There is a screw in there that you need to undo. It's down there. So don't do what I did and undo the 2 screws and try and pull the chassis keeper plate off, because it won't come off. You have to undo that one as well. And when that's off, it simply lifts away forward because it is connected with the wires. But it's very easy to get into. No proper bearings on the model, unfortunately. But there is quite a lot of gunk and that in here that needs to be all cleaned out. So my usual cotton bud and method to clean the chassis. I wonder just how many cotton buds I've used over the last 115 or so episodes. Must have been a fair few. I wish I'd have put £1 in a tub for every cotton bud I'd used. I'd be very rich. So I'm cleaning all the old oil off the axles. This, I assume, is the factory lubrication, and this model is a few years old now, so it's best to remove it all and apply some fresh. And I'm also cleaning all the wheels up. As I said, it's easier to clean the wheels out of the chassis than it was with the Minute. That's how I found it anyway. And it also gives me access to the wheel backs to clean all that fluff and that off. So now that's all been thoroughly cleaned. I mean, to be honest, the wheel treads weren't that bad. It was just old oil and grease inside the axles, really. The wheel treads themselves were relatively clean. But once all the old lubrication has been removed and the wheels have been given a clean, I'll reassemble the chassis. I don't know why I left so much of the wheel cleaning in. I should have edited this out. Should have edited it out a little bit more than this, because it's dragging on a little bit. I don't usually do that. But now I'm doing the pickups, and I'm just giving these a quick wipe, just very gently, so I don't bend them out of shape. And that's it. They're all clean. And this line everything up, that sprung metal piece, and then make sure the wheels go in the correct way up. The square pieces on the side rods represent oil boxes on the real thing, and they must face upwards. And now that's all done, I'm just putting some oil with this Fleischmann pin dropper, and then a little bit of Lebel 106 grease on that driving axle gear. I did mention it in the last episode, or a couple of episodes ago. People ask me where I get that Lebel from, and I buy mine from Trains For You. It is an American product, and it is very, very good. So now I'm going to line up the chassis keeper plate. I've got to get these wires in their channel, which is cast into the weight. Once they're in correctly, I will put the keeper plate back on, and then apply those 3 screws that we took out just a few moments ago. Whoops, slipped off the screwdriver there. So I screw those all up, and that's it. Now we're going to turn our attention now back to the motor. Now I've swapped the capacitors over. This is the new motor. I've put the capacitors back on it, as the replacement didn't have any on. And testing it with the battery, it's running lovely and smoothly now. There's no joltiness whatsoever. So hopefully this has now fixed it. That's what it was. One of the poles on the original motor had failed. Now this motor will only go in one way. The worm gear there is pre-applied. And I'm just looking here to see what sort of pole it is. It's a 3-pole motor. And now I've soldered the wires back on. It will just clip back. A little bit of force needed, but it will just clip back into that motor retaining piece. He says a little bit of. I was just trying to do it gently so I didn't break anything or trap any wires. But there we go. That's all back in place. And again, another bit of grease on that worm gear, because that is completely dry. It's all clean. There's no lubrication on that whatsoever. That has come from the factory at the Bachmann factory at Barwell. So I'm going to tuck the wires in, and tuck these 2 wires around the DCC socket so that they don't get trapped. And it's back onto the saddles. And apologies for this, I will move the camera in a moment, but you can see now how lovely and smooth that motor is. And I left this running for a while so that it runs in properly, because like I said, this is brand new. So this is running in, and any overspill of grease or oil I'm just wiping off the wheels there as they rotate on the rolling saddles. So after about 20 minutes each way of running in, I didn't do the full half an hour because I will be running this before I send it back to Ron. It seems to be running really, really well, and I'm going to fit a decoder to it and then put it on the layout. Now we're outside now, the body shell has been replaced, and I'm just going to prove now that there is no jerky running on low speed anymore. This is outside. You can see this is speed step 2, and I'm going to slow it down to speed step 1. There's no jerky running. It is running lovely and smoothly, and it did this on DC as well, but it's more interesting watching it out on the layout than it is just working its way on a set of rolling roads on the bench, I think. So we're going to couple up to this Mark 1. Sorry about the shaky camera there, I was trying to watch the controller as well. Coupled up lovely. Pull away, there's no jerkiness at all, so it definitely was a failed coil in the original motor on this model. So it was a nice simple repair this time, which is a nice change. Sometimes the simple repairs are nice to do. If you've got a loco or anything you'd like to see featured on a future episode of Trash to Track, or if you need anything repaired, please email me at dansmodelrailways@gmail.com and have a look at getting it sent over. Who knows, it may even feature in an episode all of its own. So I'm going to run this 56XX in the garden for a bit to make sure everything's properly bedded in and it's running right, and then I'll get it shipped back off to Ron. Thank you so much for watching Trash to Track again. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye for now. You'll have to excuse the banging in the background. The children decided, well, the youngest two at least, decided it was a good idea to play with their hammers and tools while I was trying to film this. So, yeah, that's what the background noise is.